What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Jorge Masvidal responds to Gilbert Burns. Jorge Masvidal has officially responded to Gilbert Burns in regards to a potential fight between the two. After Burns went on a podcast and called the BMF out for turning down a fight with him, many were eager to see how Masvidal would respond. While training at American Top Team, Masvidal took a video to give his unfiltered thoughts on the fight with Burns.
So I gotta address this little that I usually wouldn't have time for, but I'll make some time for you today, Gilbert. Hunter, if you're hearing this or when you see this, can you please tell this I never agreed to November, December, or January. I've had court cases, I've had different things, a bunch of things where I haven't been able to decide I want to fight.
Of course, Masvidal had been linked to a potential fight with Burns several months ago after the latter dropped a narrow decision to Khamzat Chimaev. Eager to go on another win streak and make a run at the title, Burns called for a fight with Masvidal. At the time, there was speculation about whether or not Masvidal was even going to be able to fight given his ongoing legal battles stemming from an alleged assault on Colby Covington. In the video posted to his social media, Masvidal also called for a fight against Burns on the UK card that'll be headlined by the Leon Edwards-Kamaru Usman trilogy. Fortunately for fight fans, although the card doesn't have an official date, Masvidal calling Burns out indicates that his troubles outside the cage are hopefully behind him. If these two welterweights square off in the octagon, who do you think gets the win? Give us your predictions in the comments below. Dustin Poirier isn't interested in Beneil Dariush fight. Coming off a big third-round win over Michael Chandler in the people's main event of UFC 281, Dustin Poirier is only interested in fights that excite him. After Poirier's victory, talk immediately shifted to who the Diamond would fight next. With one win under his belt, he was still just shy of a title shot, but not so far out of title contention that he should take anything less than a number one contender fight. The solution, it seemed, was a number one contender fight with Beneil Dariush, who was fresh off a stunning win over Mateusz Gamrot at UFC 280 in Abu Dhabi. With an 8-fight win streak under his belt, Dariush found himself in a similar position to Poirier, right on the cusp of a title shot. When the fight was mentioned to Poirier this week on the MMA Hour, he explained that, although he respects Dariush, he has no interest in fighting him.
Not really, honestly. No disrespect to Beneil, a great fighter, and get it the right way. He's a very respectful guy, hard worker, goes in there and handles business, dude, and I respect that. And I'll watch when he fights, but that's not, when we just talked about the other names that I've fought recently, that one's not like super exciting when I think about it.
It'll be interesting to see how the UFC handles the situation. With 155-pound champion Islam Makhachev set to fight featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski next year, the rest of the division will likely compete to determine the number one contender in the meantime. If Poirier doesn't fight Dariush, the UFC could very well look to book him for a rematch with Charles Oliveira. Of course, following his loss to Islam Makhachev, Oliveira revealed that he plans to take some time off before fighting again. How do you think things play out in the lightweight division? Give us your thoughts in the comments below. MMA community reacts to controversial Adesanya Pereira stoppage. In the main event of UFC 281, Alex Pereira picked up yet another win over Israel Adesanya. With its 5th round stoppage victory, Pereira captured UFC gold and completed a perfect 3-0 sweep over the last stylebender. Following the fight, however, there was some controversy regarding the stoppage. While some, like UFC President Dana White, agreed with the stoppage and were fine with Mark Goddard protecting Adesanya from unnecessary damage, others thought he should have given the champ more time to recover. The stoppage received mixed reactions from the MMA community. Streaking bantamweight Sean O'Malley agreed with the stoppage, explaining that although Adesanya wasn't completely out, things were trending in a bad direction for the champion. Longtime commentator Joe Rogan agreed, saying that Pereira showed no signs of slowing down and there was no need for the fight to continue and Adesanya to wind up unconscious on the canvas. On the flip side of things, veteran Matt Brown agreed with Adesanya about the early stoppage, as he knows firsthand fighters would rather get taken out of the cage on the stretcher than lose a fight. With that said, however, he didn't think it was likely that Izzy would have recovered. Adesanya's teammate Dan Hooker also weighed in on the situation, explaining that although he wants referees to give him every opportunity to recover, as a friend, he's glad it was an early stoppage versus a late stoppage.
Me watching it as like a friend, I just want him to be all right. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather as a friend and as a teammate, I'd rather it too early than too late. As a fighter, you're obviously like, make sure I'm really not moving, you know what I mean? But as a friend, as a teammate, I would prefer it to be too early than too late.
What did you think about the stoppage? Did you want to see the referee let it go on longer, or did Mark Goddard get it right? Sound off in the comments below. Before we continue, make sure you give that like button some love, and be sure to subscribe to the MMA Zone for all of the latest news. Daniel Cormier weighs in on Khamzat Chimaev versus Alex Pereira fight. When Alex Pereira defeated Israel Adesanya in the main event of UFC 281, he blew the doors to the division wide open. Suddenly, fighters like Robert Whittaker and Marvin Vettori, who had already lost twice to the champ, had a route back to title contention to take on the new champ. Waiting in the wings, however, is none other than streaking Chechen prospect Khamzat Chimaev. After picking up a dominant win over Kevin Holland at UFC 279, Chimaev seemed destined to return to middleweight. Recently, however, he's been linked to a potential #1 contender fight with Colby Covington. The fight has continued to dominate conversations throughout the fight community as everyone collectively waits for news regarding a potential Chimaev versus Covington fight. Of course, following Alex Pereira's win over Israel Adesanya, Chimaev injected himself into the conversation by calling for a fight with the newly crowned champ, dubbing the former two-division Glory kickboxing champ easy money. The way UFC Hall of Famer Daniel Cormier sees things, he's right. In a potential fight between Chimaev and Pereira, DC believes the grappling of Chimaev should make him a considerable favorite. He spoke on a recent episode of DC and RC, saying,
If you schedule him and Khamzat right now, and Khamzat goes, this is my belt, let me fight, Khamzat will be a massive favorite to beat Alex Pereira. Just because of the style. The style just does not match up yet. And Pereira, he's so young in his career that this was honestly the ideal champion for him.
Following a stacked night of fights at UFC 281, UFC President Dana White explained that the promotion is looking to book a fight between Chimaev and Covington. The way things sound right now, a potential showdown between Chimaev and Pereira will have to wait. If the two men ever do share the octagon, who do you see getting the win? Give us your breakdown in the comment section below. And now for our breaking news story of the day.
So I said Sean Shelby and right to Dana as well, so I'm ready for Pereira to win Brazil. And directly after March, if Colby wanna fight, so I take my title H4 and then go down 7-7, fight Colby as well.
Yeah, you mentioned that to Sean and Dana.
Yeah.
Did you text them or you called them or Majdi?
Yeah, I text with to Dana as well. He didn't see that yet. Sean Shelby, I would speak with him and he said first, yeah, let's go, brother, we do it. Then I don't know what's happening. He said, okay, brother, we go first Colby. We'll see.
Chael Sonnen doesn't think Dustin Poirier is chasing UFC gold. After Dustin Poirier picked up a major win over Michael Chandler on the main card of UFC 281, talk immediately shifted to who the Diamond could potentially fight next in order to move him one step closer to an undisputed UFC title. The name that continued to surface in conversations was Beneil Dariush, who had recently defeated Mateusz Gamrot in a highly anticipated lightweight showdown at UFC 280. With an 8-fight win streak under his belt, Dariush seemed like the perfect opponent for Poirier. Surprisingly, when Ariel Helwani brought the fight up to Poirier during a recent appearance on the MMA Hour, the Diamond said the fight didn't excite him. The way Chael Sonnen sees things, Poirier is chasing Conor McGregor levels of superstardom, not a UFC title. He spoke in a recent video on his YouTube saying,
because Dustin Poirier right now is not on a mission to be champion. And to become champion is very realistic. That's not the statement I'm making. Dustin Poirier's #1 goal right now is not to reclaim his championship. He wants to go into a category. It's the elite of the elite. It's a category so high that when you start training and you set out to do this story, you don't even set a goal to do.
So far, Poirier hasn't named any potential opponents for his next fight. With Islam Makhachev set to defend the belt against Alexander Volkanovski early next year, Poirier could find himself out of action for a while as the UFC figures out who to match him up with. Of course, the one fight Poirier has always wanted is a showdown with Nate Diaz. Although it seems as though Diaz is content to compete elsewhere for the time being, the UFC could opt to sign him to a one-fight deal to generate massive pay-per-view numbers for a fight with Poirier. Thank you so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.